David didn't even mean it as a dig.
He didn't. David was just saying it simple.
Because he wasn't like so blown away by it. He like, oh,
because she wanted to be like, this is how you're supposed to be living at 38 years old. Yeah, and David was like, this it? Yeah. Oh, I got this. My lifestyle's like this. Booty, booty, boop. And this how you living?
Yeah, I work so hard to get where I'm at. This where you at?
Is this it? Is all of this? Is this it?
Yeah.
Hello, my loves. I am your girl, Intisar Eleanor, and this is my beautiful husband, Joseph, and welcome back to the Conner's Couch. We are chatting everything Married at First Sight today. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. We had a holiday. It was actually really fun hanging out with our family in Florida. Yeah. Child, we got in the pool and everything. It was cold and we got in the pool. We didn't even care.
It sure was cold. It's cold all over. It was really weird, but
it was weird. But I had a wonderful, wonderful time seeing everyone, hanging out with my family, and I hope you enjoyed it too, baby.
Yeah, it was cool.
This is my thing. So when we go and hang out with my family, Joe will literally just leave me. Like, he's so used to my family now, he don't need me to be around.
But also, she don't be wanting to do nothing, so I be outside.
He be outside. They be like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. He be on his way. That's true, I don't want to do anything. I just want to hang out with my, like, siblings and my mama and all, you know what I mean? So, but we had a really great time, so shout out to my Uncle Stefan for really helping us coordinate, and my Aunt Kay for helping us coordinate everything and get everything together, because they really always holding it down for the big family vacations. So yeah, so I hope you guys had a great time with your loved ones. Today, we are getting into the houses, okay, where everyone lives. They are calling this episode The Basement Blues, which is beyond shady.
That's so weird.
So let's open this up with our first couple. We're going to start with Ekkichi and Mm. One thing I liked about this episode is that we got to see finally the experts kind of meet us in Chicago to kind of check on everybody and see how they're doing. It really kind of helps the process along, I think. They go to see each other's apartments. Ekkichi takes MM to his apartment. And one thing I didn't really, not to be so critical, I thought Ekkichi had a beautiful place, okay? For Chicago to have the floor ceiling windows and everything like that, that's a vibe to me. But he kept saying to MM, I don't want you to feel like I'm damn bad. You know what I mean? When you come to my apartment. And it was giving to me, you know how when a man be like, oh, you big money? That to me is a red flag. Like, if I'm big money, are you little money?
It just comes off as like a bit insecure. I didn't love like the constant comment, because it was also like constant, like it felt like every 5 minutes he was saying something like, oh, I know this not about to be as big as your apartment. And
I know, like, it was weird because he didn't know.
He didn't, but you could tell that it was kind of like living in his mind a little bit. And that's just like insecurity. Like, you got to get that out of there.
But do you think that's a part of the reason why women say that men are intimidated by things? No. I think that's a sign. I think that's what women say.
No, I don't.
Women, why not?
No, because this is most of the time we hear it, it's not really founded and rooted in any truth. It's like, I meet guys at the bar. How the hell you met a guy at the bar? How he know what your house look like or how much money you make or all of this stuff? You know what I'm saying? Most of the time when we hear people say that, they've led with it. They wear it across their chest. It's their whole brand. It's their whole lifestyle. I haven't seen yet where somebody has said it. Even MM like didn't really say it.
But that's what I think the women are getting at, Joe. I think what they're saying is somebody will come into, like, you're right about the being at the bar and somebody not knowing you BS, right? Because that's true. But I think on the other end is that men will actually come into a woman's life, see how the life that a woman has curated for herself, and then say things that either are deprecating to the woman or deprecating to themselves.
Fully understood that. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm saying, especially in regarding the shows that we cover, most of the time, 98.9% of the time, when I see them say it, it's not founded in anything. I'm not saying it don't happen in the real world and that it's not somebody's legitimate gripe.
But I'm saying
when I see it on these shows, it's before this man has ever even been in your house.
Yes.
They've been outside together, and then it's like we've seen it. I can't remember what show we was watching, but somebody said it before they had even met the other men. Like before they had blended and met you get what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. I'm saying in this instance, when a man is saying the things that Ekkichi is saying out of his mouth, that doesn't come off as he may feel like.
I say insecure.
Okay, you're saying insecure. I'm saying intimidated, but I think
it's one in.
I think okay, it's one in the same. Yeah. Okay, because I sometimes when women say that, I don't always agree. To your point, I'm always like, well, what did you know? I do blame it a bit on maybe how the woman posed something. This is the first time I'm seeing it in real time. How a woman could feel like, okay, I'm tired of, like, because even I was tired of hearing him say things.
I was tired of
keep your expectations low and all the stuff like that. Mind you, in regards to a man living alone with no animals, he had a beautiful place.
Yeah.
To me, it looked like a perfect setup for a single human. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Women just do things differently. We like the host or whatever the case may be. So it may be bigger. She may be accounting for guests in a way that a man would not.
Right.
And I think that's realistic.
Yeah.
So we go over to MM's apartment, and let me say this. I am probably this is going to be like the theme for the evening. I'm probably the least impressed person. I'm never impressed. When I saw how MM was living, I'm like, that's a bad bitch right there. Uh-huh. I was so proud of that baby. Not but because like I know everything that she probably had to work to get to where she is and to be doing the damn thing and had this and we saw it in the matchmaking special. But now I get to really say how I felt about it. I just was like, this is what we want to see. And if you are intent on being in a partnership, can you imagine what their life could look like if they just were to work together?
Yeah.
If she could have that on her own and we work together on this, what could our life be?
Yeah, but I don't think the majority of singles think like that. I don't think they think from a place of partnership.
I don't think so. I do think MM does. And I think that's why she was like, you know, I felt like the way that she was even speaking about her place, she was kind of like, yeah, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? It's not that deep because she's thinking like, this could be bigger than both of us. Mm-hmm. We can have 5 beds. We can have, you know what I mean? And I kind of was like, first of all, I was impressed with how she handled it as well. Because instead of her being like rolling hot, because I probably would have rolled my eyes and be like, all right, enough of this. He was even talking about how the air fryer was better.
Nah, she was just rolling. I thought she handled it well, yeah.
They went and they spoke to the experts, which I thought this was really dope. They look comfortable with one another, but to me, and you guys tell us in the chat, don't you feel like Pastor Cal kind of picked up on something between them?
You know, they don't show these whole conversations, but I think to me I'm assuming that they talked a little bit about their intimacy and lack thereof.
Yes.
Because they do seem like they're friends at this point. They seem like they get along fine. They vibe with each other. They was vibing on the honeymoon. And even in person, they seem personable, like they touching each other and things like that.
But they don't seem like they don't seem touchy to me in person.
But
they said they were though.
They do, and they were showing it on maybe it was the last episode. Mm-hmm. They was giving close up, like he was putting his hand on her chest. They was sitting close. Even the other couples was like, damn. In episodes prior. But I think they always ask about, which I don't know why they didn't show it here, but they always asked about the sexual intimacy, physical intimacy, things like that. And then when couples typically say that they haven't got there yet, Pastor Kyle and Dr. Pepper at least be like, what's going on? You
right, know what I mean? Right. And I feel like in this regard, there was a lot of things happening here. I think that Pastor Kyle sensed not dissension, but not cohesion. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like, I think he senses there's something that's not allowing you all to glue. And I don't know what it is. And I think MM politely kind of says something that I think is going to speak to something that may be bubbling. She wants to have deeper conversation with Ekkichi. And I don't feel like she's getting that from him. Like, she'll ask him questions, but she's not getting straight answers. And I think that's making it hard for them to get close. But I also feel like, and I mean this with all due respect, and because I'm getting kind of overwhelmed by Ekkichi's words, and I mean this with all due respect, he's too old. At the point at which you're a 40-year-old man, you should just have answers to regular questions.
Well, I think this is why I appreciate the experts coming in, because these couples need help navigating these situations.
Yeah.
When you're on a honeymoon, no one is helping you navigate, you know what I mean, big topics and big things like that, which you really shouldn't be doing on a honeymoon anyway. It's your honeymoon. You should just be kind of vibing, which is clear to me that that's all they've been doing. So that's why I appreciate Dr. Pepper or Pastor Kyle rather being there and being able to open up the flower a little bit some more and kind of get to the root of things, and start to tackle those topics, because prior to this point they really
aren't kind of asking deep questions,
and they are thrown into the deep end to sink or swim. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really think that they need more of these sessions, because I think every newlywed couple at some point needs to help ushering in how to handle talking about life. What does life together outside of a resort look like for us? How do we plan to mesh work schedules and blah, blah, blah. And to me, that's just something that this is now the point where you really need help tackling that stuff.
One of the questions he asked, or maybe Dr. Pepper did, what do you want in your wife? And I felt like that was a very good question that MM said she had not asked. But Ekkichi's answer was, I want to see the art in you. Now, when he first said this, I immediately rolled my eyes. But then he went on to say, he feels like she's a bit measured and calculated and mechanical. Mechanical was the word that he used. And that he feels like, he wants her to kind of like maybe bring down things a bit. What did you think about that?
It made sense to me. Like, I think I can tell how he is a little bit like Acho that is on Fox Sports 1.
Oh my God, I cannot stand Acho.
He kind of goes around Robin Hood's bend to get to his point. But his point is valid in the sense that I get rigid from MM. So, and especially understanding his background, he's a creative. His lifestyle, their lifestyles are probably very different in the sense that, like, he's a creative, he's a little bit more easygoing maybe, and she's a doctor, and she's, you know what I mean, very measured, very calculated, and she comes off a little rigid. So I think he was trying to say in his, Acho way, like roundabout way, like I want her to be a little bit more chill, a little come a bit to my side of things.
When you decided you wanted to be married, right, whenever that was for you, what did you want in your wife?
Ultimately, we had already had a vibe, and I really just wanted us. You know what I mean? So I think I ran into a wall where I was trying to turn the person I was dating into you. You know what I mean? But outside of that, I mean, I was pretty open. I really didn't have like any type of stringent rules or regulations about, you know what I mean, what I wanted.
Do you think that marriage has looked differently from your initial expectation of it? Or what was your initial expectation of what you thought marriage would be?
I don't think so. I mean, I had a vision of what I thought our marriage could be.
Okay.
And it's been pretty accurate. I think overall my vision was that we could overcome any of the obstacles that we kind of were coming up against when we were dating. The biggest one to me was long distance, you know what I mean? And that's, if anybody's been in a long distance relationship, you know how hard and how straining it could be on a relationship. So I saw so many positives in the potential of like what we could be. And so it was really just, do you believe that you can get over these things that have been hurdles for you trying to get to marriage? And I saw us overcoming that like a long time ago. So
when we weren't together, you didn't have an idea of, okay, I'm getting older.
No.
You never thought about it like that? Like, I'm getting older. No. If I were to marry somebody, they need to have these attributes.
No.
Why not?
I wasn't really worried about that. You know what I mean? Like I said, I really had a plan and a vision for my life. So outside of you, Like, I wasn't really concerned about that because I kind of, when I attack stuff that are goals of mine, like it's almost one track minded. Like, I'm going to get this thing, and everything else kind of funnels into there, and I take it piece by piece. And for me, like, the dating world I was just kind of there. You know what I mean? Ultimately, I knew that my wife was into Zar, so I wasn't really in the dating world trying to set up,
your wife.
Yeah.
Okay, I could dig that. Either way, I'm really still rooting for Ekkichi and MM. I think that it's really nice to see. I don't know. I just really want to see a black couple win.
Yeah.
Can we get a win? So fingers crossed on that, guys. But I'm rooting for them.
Yeah.
I think they got some room. I do think that MM has a mechanical piece. We kind of had that, I think, in the beginning. You're a creative. I wouldn't say I'm not, but I think I'm not. You know what I mean? And I think that we look at the world differently in a way. But it's weird. I think our lifestyles are meshed, though.
And I don't think that this is why I am a proponent of, counseling and professional help at this point, because I don't think that they have any differences or anything that can't be mended or can't be overcome. I think everything should start with the vibe, you know what I mean? And so to me, they off on a good foot because they just like each other, you know what I mean? They haven't had a lot of situations where they butted heads or anything like that yet, knock on wood. And so from what they are talking about in their session with Pastor Carla and them, it's nothing that I don't think they can get to. If they rock with each other, it's nothing I don't think they can not make it over,
So let's talk about Carla and Wine. We're going to move on into them. First things first, Carla is homeless. But that kind of tracks. I don't know why that tracks for me, but that tracks.
But did nobody else catch that? She basically was saying, like, I live out of my storage unit. And the reason why is because what had happened was...
No, literally...
She said I was in between the show and then getting picked for the show, and then we went on a honeymoon. So I'm like, is she trying to say she don't have a place to live right now?
Yes. And also, she like when you do things like that, right? Like these ultimate leaps of faith. That's an ultimate leap of faith that she's doing. Those people, they are the ones who win. Because it requires a certain something in your brain to just go all in. Yeah,
I mean, excuse me. It takes a bit of reckless abandonment to like really, dream big and
reckless abandonment,
go for it. But Carla's situation seems more slick to me than anything else. Girl, you are not fooling us at all. Are you a homosexual? Because we've seen enough of them, especially being in LA, and she's teetering on homosexual to me.
Let me tell you something. She could be any kind of sexual. I love Carla down. Okay, I don't know what it is about this woman that is so intoxicating for me, but I am like drunk on Carla. Like I just love her. I don't know what it is. I just like feminine women. And she just gives me not only feminine, but matter of fact. Like she has this also very deep, not masculine, but she has this deep confidence that I can't get enough of. Like I really feel like in her brain, she believes like, no, I'm really that girl.
She absolutely does.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and you're welcome. My presence is a present. But she says it in such a way that you don't even feel offended by it. You right, your presence is a present. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel about Carla. I really love her, and I'm taking notes, Carla. I really am. We go to Juan's apartment, which is just a hodgepodge of mess he's found on the street. And I'm just like, I don't know why I'm having a hard time with Juan.
I don't either, because he's just a single man.
No, the single man apartment. His apartment looked appropriate. His place
looked like
Let me be clear.
He's a single man with a roommate. Is he living with his cousin or whatever?
No, his cousin moved in to sublet.
Okay. So his cousin was just
his cousin's just subletting.
Yeah,
it's not. I thought his apartment looked exactly the way that it should look. Full stop. You know what I mean? When we didn't live together, you had a futon. So it's like,
that's fine too.
And he had his.
My place was together.
Let me tell you something. His place was perfect for him.
Yeah.
The funniest thing is when we first moved to when I first moved to LA, Joe had already had the place set up because he just moved his furniture from his place to the place that we would share together. And I remember walking in and thinking, I cannot live in this. Like, this cannot. And we just went and we changed everything and just
But
made
that's
it
what
our
happens.
spot,
Like,
you know?
I think people have these overreactions to what did you expect a single man place to look like? Not
Right.
you. I'm saying
No, for
people,
real.
on these shows, people walk in and they, oh my God.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's like, they open his fridge and there's nothing but Cheerios. Well, he don't eat at home.
Right.
Because he's 29 years old
Yeah.
and he's in the streets and he has no domestic responsibility.
Because Joe was going to have the Tyson chicken tenders.
A
The buffalo
1,000%.
kind.
1,000%. So I just think like also just having the foresight of like not overreacting to these in-home visits is pivotal for mainly these women, because sometimes the overreaction is like a bit much. Like, what did you think? Because if you walk into his house and it looked pretty and pristine, you would think, oh, is it a John living here? You would have a problem with, you know what I mean?
With that as well. But I do think Carla said something that I thought was really poignant. One, she had already lived with a spouse before, and she made reference to the fact that she doesn't want to feel like she can't bring her things into the space and make it feel like a cohesive space as well. And I think she's right to bring that up. You know what I mean? And I didn't feel like Juan was receptive to that.
Well, he wasn't receptive to it. And I think it goes back to the single mindset that we was talking about.
That's why Juan is annoying me.
But they all have it. They
I
all
know.
have the single mindset that they have to get out of. And I think that's another reason why I think the counseling aspect of it is big, because sometimes you need a third voice in the room to pull you out of that and go, okay, this isn't your place. This is now our place. You know what I mean? So you have to make adjustments there. And you just have to make adjustments with your life in general, because you are coming into this process as a single individual. And so you have to, some of them are not fully open-minded yet to all of the changes that come with accommodating for another human being, including your living room furniture, your kitchen furniture, the furniture in your bedroom. You know what I mean? Because they also have a bit of a culture shock when people are coming in, especially some of the women, and they're like, we're going to change this and we're going to change that. And we're going to change this. And I could see how some of their faces like, whoa, slow down.
And I do think there's a bit of slow down in that. But I think the reason why I get so frustrated with Juan is because I can see it. Like, I can see it. You know what I mean? And I just hope he can see it as well. And maybe he's just a slow burn and he just has to come out his shell. But sometimes it's frustrating when you're just like, you don't see how this woman wants to be a part of your life. And she wants y'all to feel connected.
I don't think that I think that it's a growing pain.
Yeah,
I don't think
is.
it's a thing of attributing you not being able to see it. I think it's more, at least in Juan's case, I think it's more of a thing of not having done it before, right? If you've never really lived with a woman before, especially a woman who like is your person, like you're together, she's not just a roommate. Transitioning into melding lives is a big fish out of water experience for you. You know what I mean? So I think I'm trying to give grace there as well, because I can understand how it's a big learning curve, you know, for you as a single.
I agree with that. So we move on to them sitting down with the experts. And one of the things that I think was they bring up what happened on the honeymoon and how Juan said, you know, he
I'm so bored with this story.
What did he say? I forgot you were even there.
I was having such a good time. I forgot. Yeah.
But no, don't be bored with it. I think it was important to bring up because I think it speaks to what the primary focus should be. And I think that Dr. Pepper was right to say, you know, I understand that you're here. We're meeting everybody. We're doing all the things, whatever. But the truth of the matter is your primary focus should be your wife, full stop. And that's what Carla is looking for. How do you feel about them having pulled back the affection from one another?
I think this whole thing is so overblown because Juan never said his focus wasn't Carla. You know what I mean? He made a statement. It was a mistake. He apologized for it. And I feel like Carla want to harp on this thing until the cows come home, which is a bit of a red flag to me because the art of moving on is pivotal in a relationship, a marriage. I think that all of that is somehow connected to them pulling back. And I think that that's going to be an issue for them.
I think so too. I do believe that affection ebbs and flows in your marriage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some days I'm way more affectionate than other days, or whatever the case may be, and vice versa, Joe as well. But I do, and sometimes we just go through periods. You know what I mean? Where the affection is minimal or whatever, or it's crazy. But I think that she is such a fiery spirit. I think she almost needs affection. And I think the affection for her is the affirmation that the relationship is going well in a way. And I think that them pulling away is not a great idea. Like, there should be hand holding, kissing, touching. You know what I mean? Y'all are both beautiful people. Like, is it that you don't like the way each other looks?
No, I honestly think it has a lot to do with this whole overblown situation.
Oh, you think it's specifically the situation?
Yes, I do. Because unless we miss something, what the hell else happened?
Right.
You know what I mean? I just don't see what else happened other than coming home. And obviously coming home is going to affect everybody in certain ways, trying to acclimate to life and work schedules and things like that. You ain't on honeymoon no more. You know what I mean? So I understand that aspect of it. But outside of that, I can't draw a connection to anything else but this overblown situation.
Let's go on into Camille and Tom. We did see Thomas's place, and he definitely had a white refrigerator. And I'm going to say this, and I mean this with all due respect, because I really like Thomas. So Thomas, I don't want to hear it. I think you're a little too old to be living like that. Okay? It just felt.
But it's not a age thing. I think it's a personality thing. He's a plain white refrigerator personality.
But look how I wrote it in the notes.
Excuse me.
Why is it in caps?
Oh, yeah. No, he's a plain white refrigerator type of personality. You know what I mean? He doesn't have it. It's not going to show up in his place. It's not going to show up in his wardrobe. That's not, you could just tell that that's not his strength. You know what I mean? Like, that's not, home decor and throwing on an outfit is really not strengths for him. You know what I mean? But this is where the yin and yang comes from. That's the beauty of marriage and blending these lives, right? Camille can come in, and I bet you if they make a place together outside of the show, it'll be fly. You know what I mean? Because she'll bring that flair to him as far as his home decor goes. I really wasn't surprised though. That's just what he gives to me, You know
what? You're absolutely right. He does give like sleepy.
Yeah.
What's the sleepy dwarf? He does give that to me. But as soon as he gets into the house, Camille goes to the closet and say, I need to see this swaggy piece. I don't know.
Oh,
First of all, at this point, if I hear it, I better never hear that word ever again in my life.
I also don't want to hear R&B smooth no more. Like I love R&B music, but
I love R&B music.
I almost wanted to delete my R&B playlist because I'm tired of Camille talking about it. I'm really tired of it.
I'm tired of it, and we told you guys last week for many reasons why. But I just don't like the idea of and I don't know if it's lack of a better word, like what she really means is confidence or whatever the case may be. But a lot of y'all
we know exactly what she means. And not to cut you off, but we need to address this because people will try to play in our face in the comments like everybody don't know what the hell Camille is talking about. No one is, because somebody said, oh, well, I think people are projecting their own feelings onto No. We all heard what Camille said. I don't remember who said it, but it was a comment. And we all, and I didn't address it because it's a lot more. I have a lot more words than Twitter fingers. So we all heard what Camille said. We know exactly what she means when she says she wanted him to have more R&B smooth. She even talked about the difference in cultures.
Yeah.
We know what she's talking about, y'all. Yeah. We cannot sit up here and try to defend what she is saying, especially if the roles were reversed. No one would be defending Thomas for saying that he need his girl to be a little bit swaggier or to get in her closet and say, pull out your swaggiest.
Or why is your back so big?
Like, what are we talking about
why is your back so big?
We know exactly what she's talking about.
If he starts saying things like that, you know what I mean? Do we not get offended?
Right.
So my thing is this. She sits down and she speaks to her sister, and which I love seeing sisters talk because the sister got sense. The sister, the one with the brains. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because she kept asking her real questions. So she says, we grew up really ingratiated in the black side of our family, whereas he did not, right? But we know he did not because he was adopted. We know that. That's number one. Number two.
This is what you said last week. So it blows my mind how people can pretend and play in our face in the comments like we don't know what the hell we talking about. The sister is addressing it. You said that last week. And then the sister got up here on this episode and addressed the same exact thing. So let's just make it clear. We all know what Camille is talking about.
We all know what Camille is talking about. And I also feel like it is so distasteful to even have this conversation because being black is such a spectrum of things. You know what I mean? Like, we both went to PWIs. Our school was our high school was majority white. Our middle schools were majority white. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we are a certain way because we are around our family. But when we around others, we could be that way too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Code switching is a thing that black people have been doing since the dawn of time, since being black. And the truth of the matter is, if his existence is in this particular way, right? Like how he exists and shows up in the world as a suburban man.
Right.
What are we even saying? When you look at him, is he not black?
But that's what but the problem is she wants him, he's not black enough for her. And that's really what we're addressing. And we just got to call a spade a spade. Like, this isn't her, just zhuzhing up his outfits. This is her having a legitimate issue with the core of who he is as a human. That's what we're talking about here.
Yes.
We're not talking about nothing else. And that's what the sister addressed, because she understood that that's what we're talking about.
And she made a point to say, if you think he's a nice guy, so why aren't we leaning into that?
Because y'all don't learn from mistakes. Because, Camille, you done had the blackest of the blackies before.
And they not checking for you. Because if they were, you would not be on the show.
You wouldn't be here.
And we just got to keep saying these things. And you know who was doing that? Dr. Pepper seems so annoyed by these people. Is it me?
She has to be. Because I know she's thinking, are you serious?
Dr. Pepper said something to someone else. I think it was Michelle and David. No, it was Madison and Allan. Where she said, we don't want to replicate a past that did not work. Y'all come into these spaces
last week
and want to replicate a past that did not work. And guess what? This is a pathology. This is not just these women. Right. I've seen this time and time again.
Right.
Y'all are just y'all will literally keep running into the wall, changing nothing, and then trying to figure out, I don't understand
why it's not working. You meet these new people and you spend so much time trying to change them into the failed relationships that you left.
She also said, Dr. Pepper went a step farther in Madison and Allan, but I think this translates to Camille and Thomas as well. This is not a hot date.
Right.
You aren't supposed to come in and feel juicy between your legs. Okay?
Right.
You're supposed to be stimulated in other ways. And that's because you have felt juicy between your legs when you met someone.
And now you're here.
And now you are here. So now we have to see if we could get juicy up here. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down?
But also, the bigger the concept that I don't think that they wrap their brains around when they sign up for shows like this is that this is supposed to be long term. This is supposed to be a slow burn, right? Things that come quickly go quickly, right? So for a marriage, if you're building a foundation, it takes time because your intent is till death do us part. So your intent is to not make this as hot and heavy as we can, as quick as we can, only so it can burn out fast. You want to build a long-lasting marriage. And so I think that's what Dr. Pepper was talking to. But for some reason, these people sign up on these shows, especially one that got marriage in the name of it. And they don't understand that.
The great philosopher Kanye West once said, one good girl is equal to 1,000 bad bitches. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that y'all be grown women out here looking for bad bitches. Yeah. That's really what it is. You're a grown woman out in the world looking for a man who is a bad bitch. Yes. And it's really weird. Yes. It's really, really, really weird. And the truth is, y'all will be in the presence of a good man. Y'all will be in the space of a good man. He will be in literally your proximity. Reach out and touch him. And you will be you'll look all the way around him. Hitting him like this.
it's so crazy because by Camille's logic, Michelle Obama isn't with Barack Obama.
I tell people this all the time. If I were to listen to everything that y'all say y'all needed in men, I'm not married.
Cause she could have said that. She could have said the same thing. Oh, Barack didn't have that R&B swag. And could she have not said the same thing about this man? Oh, he just didn't have enough R&B swag for me. She from the South Side of Chicago, so I'm sure there was a lot more R&B swag in the streets.
Come on,
she could have.
And he probably didn't even get his swag until he was
president. Like, yeah, he probably did not have any of it. He probably. You think he had that walk? That walk that's a presidential walk, and it grew. He figured it out. You know what I mean?
But y'all don't have the foresight, and this is really, really. Everybody want everything right in the moment.
Yeah,
and that's what's scary too, right? Because you can't expect to have a future with somebody and also can't see past your nose.
Right.
You can't do both. Like, you have to be able to see. Okay, there's some things that we can make room for. We can compromise. We can do things together. We're going to figure it out together.
Because I will also argue that there is a line between judging somebody and trying to
change them.
All and out, fundamentally change who they, because you don't want to toe that line, because even staying there, I would argue that let's take the whole Barack thing, right? Because you can give them the same criticisms. I would argue that had Barack had the R&B swag that Camilla's looking for, he never becomes president. Him being who he is how he got to where he got to, right? So if we change him and he a little too swaggy, the whites might be in the voting booth like, he got too much R&B swag.
Yeah, he a little blacker than we thought.
You see what I'm saying? So you got to be careful with this Camille and Thomas thing, because Thomas got to where he is because of who he is. So the whole thing of trying to make him a little bit on a darker meat side on the inside, you have to be careful with that.
But it's also weird to me, coming from a woman who is obviously biracial.
I know that part too.
That you would feel like you're in an interracial relationship.
Right.
You in an interracial relationship with your damn self.
How about that?
Like, you're internally in an interracial relationship. This man is a black man, but it reduces blackness to so many things.
It really does.
It's reductive.
To even say about a black man that you're in a relationship with, I feel like I'm in an interracial relationship.
Like what?
Why? Because he's not. I don't even want to.
It's reductive.
Right.
It's reductive, and it's deplorable for real. And the more she keeps saying these things, the more I'm looking at her like,
are you stupid? Period.
Because it's not giving black. The more you talk, you're not giving black.
Right.
Because black people have an understanding that we're not a monolith.
Right.
We get that. You know what I mean? Like, so the more you're talking, it's giving something else.
Right.
Believe it or not. So one of the things that she says to Pastor Cal and I think it was Dr. Pia is that I don't want to change him. And Pastor Cal said something that, first of all, I'm so tired of single people saying this. I don't want to change you. No, you're going to change when you come around here. It's some shit I just don't like. You know what I mean? Like, so you just got to change. And that's just it. And vice versa. He says, she says, I don't want you to change. I don't want to change you is nice and cute, but not realistic.
Right.
And Pastor Cal is 1,000% correct. We are all changing. Every day changing. When the sun sets and comes up, it's a new day. You know what I mean? Things are constantly in flux. That's the only thing that's constant is change. So the idea that you would be but that's how I know y'all don't have no experience with other humans. You would have to not have ever been in a real relationship to not understand that it's not really that you're changing someone when you get into a relationship. It's more that you both
you're adapting.
You adapt. You make concessions.
Yeah.
It's so clear that you all don't have experience.
Because the truth of the matter is that the show that we was watching, she made a good analogy when she said that, two people coming together at this point, at this stage in life, you're creating a startup, you're creating a company, right? As opposed to being older and it's a merger because they're two hardcore established
later
friends,
daters.
Right? Yeah. And so I think if you look at it like that and you are creating a startup, you're melding that relationship in its infancy to be however it is that you want it to be, right? So that's the zhuzhing that Pastor Cal was talking about. Whereas Pastor Cal is basically saying when you get into a house, you're gonna make that house look how you want it to look. And that's okay. Both of you put these input into the house and you make it a home. You make it how, look, you're going to paint some walls. You're going to move some furniture. Camille's issue is she wants to take the house from being a 4-bedroom house to being a completely different entity. She wants it to be
a condo,
some kind of studio downtown.
It's really, yes.
Swaggy. That's not, and that's what we're talking about. That's where there's a conflict where Camille, you are not, you're trying to do something completely different here. We're saying make the house what you want it, but it's still going to be a 5-bedroom, 4-bedroom house. You're not going to change it into some downtown condo.
I think to reduce somebody else's, how their existence. Imagine you're a black woman in the world and all people do to black women is question our existence. Tell us how we supposed to exist in the world, whatever. And for you to turn around and do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's really quite literally a fascinating thing to me, because to your point, you would do that and lose out on somebody who really going to hold you down.
Right.
I wouldn't even be, I'm not going to argue that you may have these thoughts, right? I'm not going to even, and I think even express them with your sister makes sense to me. I personally don't know if that's something that I would bring up to a black man who's trying to exist in the world.
And not one who you just met. There's so many other things that y'all got to tackle at this stage in this process. Him putting on some Timbs and pulling out the swaggiest outfit so you can check it out in his closet is not one of the issues.
As if you're, the stylish one. I don't even understand how y'all be doing this. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I do think your spouse, you're going to do that over time. Do I not do that for you? I'll just buy Joe a bunch of stuff I like. You know what I mean? He don't have no input. If I like it, he gonna like it, and that's just it, and that's all. And you do that over time. Not to say that my husband don't got style, he don't got this, he don't got that. Whatever the case may be, you change all those things over time. Joe's hair is not like this if I don't do it. Joe's this is not, you know what I mean? Like, that's just life. Yeah. But it would never be a thing where you don't look good like this, or I don't like that, or it ain't swaggy enough, or you know what I mean? Sometimes he wears his hair down and I tell him I don't do Chief Keek. I like Burna Boy.
But because also imagine how different you receive it depending on when you receive it, right? If I'm just meeting you and I'm saying, oh, I don't like them shoes, you got to do something with that. You're going to be like, somebody get this man out of my face, right? But if we're 4 years in and I'm like, oh, I bought you some new shoes.
But do you see the difference in the delivery?
Yes. Camille doesn't see the difference in the delivery.
Camille wants to create her perfect man, not knowing that man don't want you.
Yeah.
And she really is, she's almost trying to manifest what she sees in her brain. And I think that's indicative for most of the women on this most people, you know what I mean? We all had this idea of what we thought we were going to get. And I think she's trying to hold Thomas to that. And I think instead of Pastor Kyle speaking to that, you're trying to hold him to an aesthetic. Yeah. He want to tell Thomas to be more swaggy. Yeah. And that's kind of corny to me.
It is.
Let's not, and really he should have checked her. That's the only thing I didn't like about Pastor Kyle. Black men are allowed to exist as well.
Right.
And in the truth, they have a hard time existing in this world because people have preconceived notions about who they are, what they're supposed to be, how they show up in the world. Box. And would love to put them in that box. So when you find a black man who is free enough to just be himself, why would you try to conform him into anything else?
Because my issue with it was that in this counseling session, we're going to spend this time trying to make Thomas more swaggy.
Talk about what the hell come on, Joe. Come on, Joe.
This is there's so many, as a newlywed, there's so many serious issues to tackle.
But that's why they need a serious therapist on here. Because a serious therapist would have been like, come on, there's something deeper going on here, Camille. And we got to get to that. Because there's something deeper going on here. And it might be that you don't feel black enough and that you receive blackness from your spouse. And because he's not black enough, now you feel like you're a white woman in a relationship with a white man.
Right.
And it could be that.
Right. Because at the core of all of this, who Thomas is as a person is not the problem. And it won't ever be it won't ever be the issue that you're trying to make it.
Ever. And as a matter of fact, you know what? We have to move on. Let's talk. We just have to. So Camille, I'm begging, baby. Baby, I'm begging, baby. I'm begging. Okay, let's move on from this. So let's dig on into Madison and Allan. Madison being, the Grinch who stole Christmas. So the first night they spend in their apartment, Madison does not come home. Okay, which Allan, to me, and by his own logic, he says he's a very patient man. You know what I mean? But one thing that has been getting on my nerves about Allan is these references to like thugging it out, calling his car a hoopty. Like, what is this?
I can't get that far. We got to park at Madison didn't come home.
Oh, how do you feel about that?
I think it's egregious. And I think that Allan and David, the hardest part to watch about Allan and David is this must be what people refer to when they call men simps. You can't constantly be getting slapped in the face and then be saying, one more, massa. That's what it feels like to me. Like, comport yourself. Yeah. You've been doing so many things to show up. Both Allan, and I'm talking to both Allan and David because they just the same character at this point to me. You've been doing so many things up to this point in this process to show up for your spouse, and they have consistently spat in your face. This is culminated by Madison literally leaving the house. We can't blow past this because what would we say if Allan did it?
Right. But she left the house like she was going out.
And then, but that's the other thing.
And then was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stay at home.
And then led with, I won't be long. Told him, I won't be this long. I won't be that long or something like that. And then didn't come home. And then came home and tried to, sometimes I like to stay at my friend's house.
What?
It was really deplorable and nasty work. And speaking about having real professionals come in and tackle these issues with these couples, somebody should have been in there setting Madison all the way straight, because I guarantee you it would have had its own episode if either David or Allan did that. And it would have been in the previews. They would have been marketing it like it was the brand new Avengers movie coming out. We would have seen, Allan was outside and he came home late. Why we don't keep the same energy when these Jones be acting crazy? For her not to come home the first night that they got back is crazy.
But let me tell you where it's nasty work for me. She then sits in front of the experts and says, they were on a honeymoon and she was looking forward to getting home so they could be in the same apartment. But she didn't spend the night. Right. So it's almost like you're putting on.
Yes, she is.
For the.
Yeah.
And I think that's whack.
And it's also whack because she knows that Allan is just going to take it. She left and knew I'm going to come home and tell him some bullshit. He going to be like, all right.
Yep.
Cool. And that's exactly what happened. She's not dumb. Neither is Michelle. They know exactly what they're doing. She knows that she's manipulated Allan to the point where she could come home, smile in his face, and tell him anything. And she also knows that he's just the malleable type to where he just is non-confrontational. He don't want no smoke. You tell him, I sometimes stay with my girlfriend, and he's like, okay, we'll do.
The difference is that Madison is good at being manipulative.
Yeah.
So much so that she is like churning these stories. When she sat in front of them and said that she was waiting to get back into the apartment so they could be together and then turned around, I thought that was like wildly manipulative.
It was.
And I think that we're not doing enough of, the difference is that when I watched the UK one of Married at First Sight, those experts be calling them out.
They don't play, yeah.
They like, but you was here doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't understand why there's not, granted there's different producers, so I think we do have to account for that. But I think that this process requires accountability in a way that we are not getting from these singles.
Yeah.
Because I would call them couples, but they are actually singles. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I feel like the way that she even speaks about the situation is as if, I just don't want another one. I don't want to change Allan. I want him to be himself. I want him to honor himself. And I'm so tired of hearing that because I feel like why are you smiling?
Because they think we stupid.
That she really think we slow.
I'm just so tired of the failed attempts to piss on our head and tell us that it's raining. We are not dumb, Madison. Like, we are not dumb, but because it's also a repeat thing. Like, she is exhibit A of just another person who comes on and says something that they think is going to work in their favor in the social media space, in the viewership space. I don't want to change you. I'm just here for, I just want you to do this, but I would never want to change him. That's not my, like, come on. We know exactly. You setting this guy up.
You are setting him up. And then you sit in front of the experts and say, your hills to climb are romantic hills and physical chemistry hills. And that's when Dr. Pepper really, because I think Dr. Pepper is for sure annoyed.
Oh, yeah,
It's like clear. Like she's like, basically, she was sitting there rolling her eyes.
And basically. I think she see through the BS too.
And that's it. And she literally is sitting there thinking, we're going to have another one getting out on us. Does she really think she sat in front of Dr. Pepper is us. You really think you playing me? Yeah. And you're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's really what...
And high key, that's why she mentioned that, you want to replicate a past that didn't work. And because you got to humble people politely. And she was kind of trying to tell her, you want to make her into somebody that did not work for you.
Yeah.
And in the same, and also to understand that this is not a hot date. What you pour into it, you will get back. Your grass is only green where you water it.
Yeah.
And a lot of y'all be watering other people's grass and then be wondering why they thriving.
Yeah.
And that's going to be Madison. She literally, this man owns his own home, has done, work on his home, whatever the case may be, has a nice car. He's obviously doing well for himself. Like, he takes care. He's self-sufficient. Okay, he might not be your physical type. But then you're talking about him going to the gym and him doing this. Girl, all of this is so wildly shallow and superficial. Like, wildly shallow.
I wouldn't even be one to talk about none of that. The minute that this Joan didn't come home, that's all the session would have been about.
Why wasn't it about that? But that's because she lied.
But this is what
Or maybe it was out of order.
I don't think so.
Oh.
I think it wasn't about that because these women on these shows, specifically this one, get away with murder because they will do their dirt with a smile on their face and then they'll explain it with a sweet sounding voice. And even Dr. Pepper, Dr. P and Pastor Kyle will sit up there and then be gaslit to the high heavens.
Yes.
And then they sit here and then they want to talk about whether or not, Allan is going to the gym enough.
And what are we
talking about?
How are we even talking about people's physical? I think it's just silly to even be talking about physically what a person looks like when you got married at first sight.
But also it's frustrating. This is frustrating to watch as a man because we wouldn't be talking about this had the shoe been on the other foot. They would have immediately shut it down. Excuse me? It would have been a lot of that.
Can you imagine if it was a man sitting there saying that you need to go to the gym?
Do you think they would have spent a whole session talking? Especially, get this, especially if that man didn't come home the night before. Imagine this shit. Like, this is crazy to watch. Like, y'all.
But
do y'all think we are stupid or dumb?
She's really the villain here. And it's really almost insulting to me watching it as a viewer because she thinks because she's speaking in a certain tone,
yes,
we're not listening to the words coming out of her mouth.
Yeah.
Not only are we listening to you, the problem is James Baldwin once said, I could listen to the words that you are saying, but I see how you are acting. Like, I see how you're acting. You could say anything. Girl, I see how you're moving. Mm-hmm. And that's enough for me. You know what I mean? And I feel like this is getting really boring. Bored. Give him something else. Now, what's his name? Allan done bought in this badass dog. Another thing, along with the guitars we need to leave off, these goddamn dogs. I'm tired of seeing it. I'm tired of seeing the dogs, okay? Yeah. So one of the things that really gets me is that Luffy is so bad, Joe. I don't even think that's Allan's dog. It don't even give that you own this pet.
Yeah, but that's why I'm kind of exhausted with the whole pets thing, because it be showing that good people can be bad pet owners.
And also, y'all think owning a dog is supposed to be your tie to humanity, and then y'all be bad people, and I've said this before. I'm done with the dogs. Nobody's impressed, and nobody cares.
Please, I'm over it.
I'm so over it. We do not care. I'm done. Like, I'm done.
Because then we got to deal with the doggy conflict. Like, oh, his dog don't mess with my dog. So, y'all, I want us to, let's take...
Or now Madison don't want to be in the house because the dog is bad.
Yeah, right. Like, she need another excuse.
That's my point. You know what I mean? So let's move on to another person who thinks because they have pets, they are a humane individual, and that's Michelle and David. Let me tell you the thing that is very clear to me about the production of this. Somebody is in Michelle's ear.
They gotta be. The way they made her show up.
what? She shows up. She don't even know where to put her bag. Oh, you slept here last night?
She was literally a stranger in her own home.
Hello, cue Tamia.
I mean, I was just about to say.
So Michelle comes in and she puts down her bag after a night of being by herself and basically tells David, she's created a list of things she would like them to do together, which to me was something the producer told her to
They
do.
had to. They got with her real good.
Well, they got with her
said,
good.
You better straighten up and fly right. And the first thing that you're going to do when you go into their house is now you're going to do this homework. You're going to come with us a list of things that you can do with him because we are done and you got one more time.
So you show up for the experts and then before you try to start asking him questions, because he says, I felt like I was going to the principal's office. She was like, oh, so you went to the principal's office when you were in there? He was like, no. He was like, it was him saying no. You know what I mean? I feel like she wants him to be the villain so bad. It's
she
hilarious.
Really does. And I think she kind of, she goes back and forth between this. She's kind of doing the same thing Madison is doing, where she goes back and forth between this statement of, I don't want to change him.
Oh, yes.
But also, I can't stand who he is and the person he is.
She genuinely cannot stand this man.
And she keeps waffling back and forth. And it's like, I don't know that you... this isn't landing how you think it's landing. Because then she'll also say things like, I know there's nothing wrong with him.
Right.
I know it's not him. You should look in the mirror and have these conversations with yourself. You sound crazy.
You sound crazy.
She says so many things that are just diametrically opposed. She's constantly contradicting herself. It's him. And it's who y'all pick for me. But also, I know it's nothing wrong with him. It's me. And I just have anxiety.
But she's just saying it's me for other people when she really longs to be the victim in all of this.
Yeah, for sure.
So they did talk to Dr. P and Pastor Cow. They're interchanging her and Dr. Pepper. But they speak and David felt like they did a good job physically. You know what I mean? She turns around and says if she saw him on the street, they would never speak again.
It's so nasty.
Which is mean.
It's so...
Who was it? Was it Dr. P said that was mean?
Yeah.
It just was a mean thing to say.
Because she's having a hard time filtering the nastiness. It flies
Which
so
means
freely.
you're nasty to your
behind
core.
cameras, she's probably even worse. And to me, that was a slip up. This is how she feels, obviously.
Right.
And I think she speaks to him in a way where it's obvious that he doesn't know what to, because even he said, I would have loved to do that stuff that you said. I just didn't know if I could even ask you to, you know what I mean? So it's clear to me that you're making it clear to him that he has to step lightly or whatever. So he's walking on eggshells, but then you get on camera and you're trying to censor yourself and you're doing a piss poor job of it because you frequently say these deplorable things out your mouth. And every now and then you trip up and you say it while the experts are in the room.
Exactly. And we're catching it on camera. Okay. I feel so not even I feel y'all. Not only was she felt like she was vague on the physical, but we know because we watched the show, the matching special, that she was not vague. She said what she wanted. She said she wanted a man who was light skinned, who had tattoos. Yeah. She asked for what she got, and for her to turn around. And again, all of these things, all of these women are sitting up here and reducing, all of them except for MM and Carla, are reducing their spouses to the way that they look.
Yeah.
Nobody is even getting deep enough to figure out who this person is.
Yep. And the one thing you're not going to do on Married at First Sight is the experts is going to stand on their picks. I mean, down to they would have to murder somebody for them. They're going to call you on the carpet when you challenge their picks. Mm-hmm. And they said, what did you ask for? They got right back.
And then she was like, well, you're going to say that.
Yeah, she was trying to they got right with her because they are going to defend their picks to the death. So that's really where she fucked up at. So
she said she wanted to meet an equal. She had high hopes and she is disappointed. And they said, and by equal, she meant like as successful as her. So they asked Michelle, what does she believe success looked like? Michelle says that, I want them to have a certain house and have a certain lifestyle and, have certain monies and everything like that. And then they asked David what he feels like success is. And he said, I don't really put value into those things. Like, I have enough to take care of myself. I can go out. I believe, family is very, if I'm successful in my family life, successful in my home life, successful in my health, those are the things that are important to me. And she was like, well, now you're making me look like a bitch.
Because she's constantly trying to produce herself, and it's about the image. That's why these things that she says is contradiction, because she's trying to stick to this script.
Yes.
But she's not a great actor. So she falls in and out of it. And that to me was another slip up. Because in her mind, her true feeling was, damn, I don't look good right now.
And that's all she was worried about.
That's all she cared about.
That's all she was worried about. When in truth, I tell y'all this all the time, so I keep repeating myself because y'all do not listen, and I don't know why. You do not need. Everybody wants a man to make all this money, but the truth is, statistically, men ain't making that much money, and we got to keep that a bean too, right? But if you are special enough to get one, there is no guarantee that he's even going to be generous and give a damn enough about you to take care of you in any way. There's no guarantee. That's number one. Number two, you just need a generous human.
Yeah.
Somebody who wants to love on you, take care of you. A man who want to take care of you will say, I'm going to figure out a way to make it work. You know what I mean? Just because he wants to take, like, it. And the problem is that you don't see that as the value. You want to see you want to see a number as the value. When in truth, the number could be the number and you have no access.
Yeah.
And we're not talking enough about that.
Be a terrorist. There's not enough spoken about, people making a mistake of leaving people who just were good to them. You know what I mean? Because then you hear things like, we was watching something the other day and the guy said he was divorced and he said, knowing what I know now, I would have stuck it out and just tried to work through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not the first time that we've heard that. It's not the first time that I personally heard that coming from somebody. And I think that Father Time has a way of being undefeated. Y'all will meet these people who are actually good to you, and then you'll leave them and get everything that you thought you wanted. And then years later be saying stuff like, I wish I would have stuck it out. I wish I would have just figured it out. You know what I mean? Because then we have a way of getting humbled by life and then having things getting put in perspective.
Yes.
Because it matters not to you how much money this man has if he is a terrible person.
But she wants a terrible person.
Jeff Bezos.
Period.
He was the richest man on earth and he was divorced.
And then had the nerve to take his money and give it away. That man done worked all these years for this money, and she turned around and said, I'm going to give all this money away. Who needs it?
But I think, why aren't y'all paying attention to the world? You know what I mean? Like, she's not the first woman to divorce a billionaire because he was a terrible person, because he was a terrible spouse. And I'm not saying don't want to be with somebody who has... you're aligned on how you see success and the things that I'm not saying that. I'm saying, like, I get wanting to be with somebody who can y'all don't even want to be with somebody who could just take care of themselves. I'm about to say, keep the main thing. Y'all don't do that. And that's my issue with what's happening with Michelle and Madison, is that no one is saying that these are terrible men.
And that's what's scary. Michelle even goes further to say him opening doors for her is smothering. She went as far to say, you dislike yourself so much.
But that speaks to what we was talking to the other week when I said this is also just real life showing itself of how women treat men that they are attracted to so very differently than men who they are not attracted to. Because, Thomas making a joke,
which is crazy,
about flossing his teeth wasn't funny to Camille. To the point where she brought it up in a counseling. Y'all wasting these good lifetime counseling dollars talking about the fuck nothing.
Nothing.
And it's really wearing me out.
And it's also indicative of why you were single in the first place.
1,000%.
Because you're majoring in the minors. You were never going to the major leagues.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, without this show, you were never going to the major leagues.
1,000%.
You were never going, because you would sit in front of professionals and talk about how we know if this is how he shows his personality by telling a joke about flossing or, they got in the shower and he was like, ooh, this is uncomfortable for me. Like, you behind me. I never been in this position. And you thought that was weird.
It's because
that's a you thing.
And if you thought that he was called Thomas R&B Smooth, you would have thought the flossing joke was so goddamn funny. Oh, you'd have been
cackling so hard, but y'all are so superficial and shallow. And I'm starting not to blame y'all, but the era that we're in, because everybody can see everybody and everything. Mm-hmm. Because y'all see a beautiful person, y'all think, oh, I could get that beautiful person too. And the truth is, y'all are not the vibe either.
Yeah.
And what we don't be talking about enough is that you ain't it either. Okay, like full stop. Like you also got to be the vibe to get somebody like that.
Yeah.
And that's what we not talking about enough. And I feel like for Michelle, going back to David and Michelle, to like bring up the fact that it is smothering for a man to be a gentleman around her. And I said this, I say this to everybody. When I'm having conversations with single women, I can almost pinpoint when they have not been in a relationship with a man who likes them. I can almost tell you when it's a woman who is just picking a man based on, his looks or this or that. I'm going to give you an example. I got a friend, beautiful woman, had a beautiful husband. This husband ain't even checking. And, whatever the story is or whatever the case may be, this person is not even checking for anybody on this team any longer. But then you would turn around and go out and still want a beautiful... the beautiful husband was not working for you, okay? So go out and meet somebody who wants you.
Yeah.
Just full on, through and through, worships the ground you walk on. And I can almost tell by how we're speaking and how we talk about things that you don't value yourself enough to just want a man who wants you down. Y'all would do better if y'all just started dating people who liked you.
Yeah.
You would see less people getting cheated on. Mm-hmm. You would see less relationships ending if you just poured into the people who like you. That's it and that's all. It is so important for y'all to return that favor. It's to your detriment.
Yeah.
It's to your detriment when in truth, a man has to like a woman more. So if you're out in the world and a man likes you, like the way you laugh, you giggle, you walk, you talk, you do all the things. That's who you need to be pouring into.
Nah, if he ain't the same height that everybody want, making the same amount that everybody want, doing the same thing that everybody want, him opening the door is going to be a turnoff.
We literally went out with one of our friends and, she was there with a new friend or whatever the case may be. This man is talking about being in the strip club, how bad the bitches are in the strip club. Me and Joe laughing because me and Joe we're gonna keep pumping it. Oh yeah, we love bad bitches in the strip club. We're gonna keep going, right? But when we walked away, we were like, imagine being in the presence of a woman
and talking crazy like that
and having the goal, the unmitigated goal. But that says how he feel about you.
Yeah.
A man would never sit in front of me and say no mess like that.
Yeah.
Now, my man, it would never.
But guess what he had, y'all? R&B smoothness. Camille would have loved it, I guess, huh?
Y'all would denigrate yourselves in order to get whatever you think you're supposed to. Like this pillar of what everybody else is eating up. Y'all would denigrate your own self-worth.
For that.
And I could literally I'd be talking to women and I'm like, and they think I'm crazy for saying, you just need to be with somebody who like you more. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that because that goes further. My husband loves me to the point where we have made certain decisions this year that may have made us a little bit uncomfortable, but my husband gonna take care of me. When I was in the hospital, he was there every day. Those things matter.
It don't matter to y'all. Y'all do not care. Y'all
do not care.
Y'all want the universal. What's the application that you fill out?
Y'all a Common App.
Y'all want the Common Man. That's what y'all want. Y'all want the Common App, man.
But I want to talk. This is my favorite part of the show, so we got to get into this. My favorite part of the show was seeing Michelle and David's houses. So first of all, David lives in a basement.
Yeah.
It's a basement. So we have, I guess, is this a basement or like an in-law suite where we film? It's really like
kind of a basement. I call it the basement.
It's the basement, right?
I mean?
But in truth, it's a bedroom down here, a bathroom, full bathroom, and a living room. So it could be where he lived. I thought would look like how we're living.
I didn't. I didn't think
So when he said it, I
only
thought,
because this is our house. He lives in his parents' house. I think about my parents' basement.
yeah, they had the same thing.
You understand what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It ain't gonna look like this. You know what I mean?
I see what you mean. Okay. And Michelle was rightfully taken aback. Okay, like let's be clear. She was right, and I felt really annoyed because this was David's opportunity. I would have called my mama and told her, "You got to clean up the whole goddamn basement."
Well, but listen, here's the thing, which I get what you, but no, he told her till he was blue in the face what his living situation was. He told her the backstory about the living situation, the whole nine. He told her why the place, before he goddamn near described the place, and then told her why the place looks like it looks like. I'm never home. I don't really eat there. Woody woody whoop. I got 3 jobs. I do this, that, and the third. It was nothing else that he could have given this woman other than taking her to a different house. That's the house that he lives in. Nothing about him. They spoke to all of the misconceptions that you could have when you hear that somebody's sleeping. He did it. His mama did it.
Yeah.
Everybody did it. They even preemptively did it on the matchmaking ceremony because they went back to that and said, "Well, we asked you, what do we do?" So,
but her answer was no, and that's another thing I don't like.
Because she gave pause and they blew past it. And when you're a therapist, they understand the pause.
Yes. Like a lot of times they look, and that's what I didn't like, because we can't also just say, "Well, you said whoopty whoopty whoop," and not understand that she initially paused.
No, they are going.
She said no. Her body language said no.
They are going to defend their picks. They would have to murder somebody. Like somebody from the cast would have to literally. They're going to defend their picks.
But I felt like Michelle, in her defense, which I might not do often, but the truth is, in Michelle's defense, she did have an issue with living with somebody who lived with their parents. She came around to it because she's in front of y'all, and then y'all use all these words to kind of twist her into a spinning top. But the truth of the matter is, when the baby gasped and was like, "Oh, well," that was the answer. That was the answer.
But here's the problem. Michelle is an adult. So the answer is no if the answer is no. So I'm not even going to give her that.
She said, why would they be living at home?
But be an adult and say no.
Yeah.
Say no.
Yeah,
Use your words. You are an adult. Because what they did was they said, "Well, we can show you better than we could tell you."
They literally said,
You want to pussyfoot around it and say,
literally.
"Well, maybe, I don't know, I can't." And then you want to talk your way onto the show. Well, talk your way onto the basement, sis. That's what you did. But you could have said no. And then you do what? You remove all doubt. So we can't surmise how you felt, and we can't do it's no gray area. Say, "I'm not with that. I don't want to be with somebody who live in the basement."
But to her, again, I do agree a bit with Michelle. When I went down there into this basement, I too felt like, come on, David.
Michelle was going to have a problem with that basement regardless of what it looked like.
But I wasn't. The basement could have looked like this, and I would have been perfectly fine with it, because that says to me, you care about your space, you care about your surroundings. No matter where you live, if you lived in a studio apartment, you would make it look like something. So the truth is, if you live in a place like this, you figure out a way to make the space really work for you. You just basically living in a basement.
But the problem is the space do work for him. And Michelle's issue is him. It's not the basement.
I tried, Michelle.
It's not the kegerator. It's not. Michelle's issue was him. So he could have brought her down there, and it could have looked like a palace in Zamunda, and she still would have had an issue with it.
She would have had an issue.
Her issue is him.
But I think for me, it would have stacked the deck in David's favor.
The deck is already stacked in David's favor. This man has been beat up and slapped back and forth, and he keep turning the cheek more than Martin Luther King did. He done turned the cheek so much prior to just getting here. We're only at home visits. She's done so much deplorable shit up until this point that she doesn't have a leg to stand on. I don't care if the goddamn roof was coming down in the basement. She's been so nasty to this man that his living quarters is never going to turn the tide in her favor.
Well, let's talk about her living quarters. One of the things, when we walked into Michelle's place, I was underwhelmed.
And so was David.
To be speaking to a woman, this woman has told us what her lifestyle has looked like this entire time.
Yeah.
And to me, as a 30-some-odd-year-old woman, I felt like I just felt like, this it?
Yeah, that's what David felt
Especially
like
after you turn around when
and
David
did all that.
Especially after you. Oh, I don't think our lifestyles will match up. What lifestyle? This
Right.
funky little 2-bedroom, whatever this is.
That he said.
Is it 2 bedrooms?
He said it's simple, and she did not like that.
Because it was simple.
It is simple.
It was simple. You just got. I mean, now what MM was working with.
But you
If you would have turned around and was living like that, I would have been like, oh.
But she thought in her mind she lives in MM's house.
In her brain,
She's created this thing.
MM got a wrap around balcony. In her brain, she think you're looking at the seats in the courtyard.
Yeah.
MM is looking at Chicago. Okay, like you are looking at the dumpster, sis. It's not the same thing.
In her mind, she really conjured it up that she is really doing.
When I saw her place, were you not underwhelmed?
I thought the same thing David thought. This is simple.
But when he said, "Oh, it's simple,"
And he
Loved.
What made it
Ooh, I
worse is
loved it.
David didn't even mean it as a dig.
he didn't. David was just saying it's simple.
Because he wasn't like so blown away by it. He like, oh,
Because she wanted to be like, this is how you're supposed to be living at 38 years old.
Yeah, man.
And David was like, this it?
yeah. But that was partly her fault. Because
Yes.
she did,
Overpromised and underdelivered.
1,000%.
You all these things. Oh, I got this. My lifestyle's like this. Booty, booty, boop. And this how you living?
Yeah, I worked so hard to get where I'm at. This where you at?
Is this it? Is all of this? Is this it?
Yeah.
I was so underwhelmed, but also I felt so vindicated.
Oh, 1,000%. I'm glad that he walked.
Because
in there
y'all
and
really
felt
be
simple.
basic.
I'm glad.
Y'all be wanting all these things and be very, 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 very basic.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you wear these Target fashions, you do all these things. And I'm saying it's Target fashion because I got a 2-piece set that look just like that. And it's from Target. And I'm just saying, like, girl, why are we trying to pretend that we somewhere we ain't?
That's what I don't understand.
I don't get it. Like, you know what I mean? You down
Just
here.
be you. I
Just
thought
be
she looked
you.
cute. It's just you think that you are in another on another playing field than
Girl.
David, and you're really not.
You know what? It is what it is. Thank y'all so much for joining us again. I'm your girl, Intisar Eleanor. This is my beautiful husband, Joseph. We're also watching Later Daters. Dating Later.
The Later Daters, yeah.
The Later Daters is so good. It's so good. It's so good. You guys should get into it as well. It's on Netflix. Shout out to Married at First Sight. We love you guys down. Thank you for another interesting episode. Tell us how you guys are feeling below. We want y'all to air us out if we need it and tell us we right if we are, okay?
Don't air me out. I'm going to get you straight.
Oh, my God, because Joe is doubling down, honey. Thank you for joining us again. And we'll see you beautiful Mother Gems later. Bye.